Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Small School AD on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's Small School AD guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director or I've got a direct connection to, and I highly recommend that you visit them. So take a couple minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to the segment, and then go visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. We want to say thanks to Huddle for their support of the podcast. Go to huddle.com. Change the way you see the game. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I wanted a platform that was going to work for all of our teams, and Huddle came through like a champ. Our coaches, our student athletes, and our parents just love the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com. Their team is going to show you how to create world-class content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams on social media. Gipper's used and trusted by over 4,000 high school and college programs across the country. It's graphic design made easy. Go to Gipper.com to get started. We also want to thank Snap Raise. If you ever spent weeks and weeks on a fundraiser and ended up with very little return on investment, stop right here. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school because it works. Coaches loved it. Our parents loved it. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best online fundraiser out there. We'd like to thank Hometown Ticketing. Go to hometownticketing.com, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. It's digital ticketing that offers more support, more security, more customization. That's hometownticketing.com. We'd also like to thank Ohio University's online Master of Science in Athletic Administration. This affordable 20-month online program focuses exclusively on interscholastic athletic administration. And when you're done, you're not only going to have your master's degree, you're going to have 11 NIAAA leadership training courses under your belt that can go towards your RAA or CAA. You're also going to be part of a nationwide graduate network with connections in athletics across the country. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We'd like to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. Go to their website, vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check out their interactive touchscreen. That's right, touchscreen video consoles. It's a great way to show off your school record boards for all the teams, for all the sports, or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply share your school's unique history and your proudest moments. The website's vitalsignswalloffame.com. Mention the podcast, vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd like to thank our friends at Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, uploading rosters, communicating with your stakeholders, student athlete eligibility and clearance. Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus is going to do all of these things better, going to do them faster, and it's going to give you a lot of time back in your schedule. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. We'd also like to say thank you to Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their scoreboards and their score tables in action. Their products not only generate income for your athletic department, but they also create the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. The website is sidelineinteractive.com. Once again, mention the podcast. And we would like to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes or your parents, you're really missing out. Athletic Surveys is going to connect you. They're going to connect you to a group you probably already hear from, the complainers, the gripers, but that's only a small percentage of your stakeholders. Athletic Surveys is also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And that information is tremendously valuable when you're talking to a frustrated parent, or maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Small School AD on the Educational AD Podcast. This is our new weekly series where we visit with athletic directors at smaller schools. And our definition of a small school is about 300 students in the high school or less. Giving them a chance to offer tips or tools, if you will, for that small school AD to experience some success. We're going to Ohio today, and we're going to be visiting with Tony Gerig. He's the director of athletics at Hilltop High School, and that's in West Unity, Ohio. Tony, welcome to Small School AD.
Hey, thanks, Jake. It's a pleasure to be on your program today.
Well, you reached out to me, when I put out that, blurb for Small School ADs. So excited to hear how you do things at your school. But for our listeners, just give us that, quick bio about yourself and what kind of school Hilltop High School is.
Sure, Jake. I want to first thank the reason I got hooked up with you. I got to thank Hannah Blykamp, who's an AD in Columbus, who's a student of mine a number of years ago. She recommended me for this program. So very humbled that Hannah would think of me for this endeavor. And just want to say hey to Hannah. So I know she'll be listening to this, I'm sure, this week. So, but yes, thank you for having me on the program. My name is Tony Gerig. I'm the AD at Hilltop High School. I'm actually born and raised in West Unity. As a small community. My parents live in West Unity. I grew up on a cattle farm here in town and went to school here, played 3 sports, and then did my secondary education at Bluffton University in Bluffton, Ohio. Played baseball for the Beavers down there, and Coach Grandy, who's still there, and got my education license in K through 12 health and phys ed. Had the intention of wanting to be a coach as a kid in high school, and so I was told that if coaching was my passion, that teaching would be the easiest way to get myself into coaching. So I became a teacher first, taught in the elementary as an elementary phys ed teacher. And then after 8 years of teaching elementary phys ed, had an opportunity to move up to the high school and junior high, teaching health and phys ed there. I've been the head baseball coach at Hilltop for 15 years, been teaching for 17. And a couple of years into my time at Hilltop, I am our athletic director at the time, got a principal's job. And he actually reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in taking the position. Becoming an AD was not something that I had in mind, but in a small town with limited resources and limited people willing to say yes, I guess I got coerced into saying yes to the job and took it. And it's been a never learning experience since then. This is my 14th year as the athletic director and also head baseball coach for my 15th year here at Hilltop. So tons going on. It's always a busy time. This time of year, being a baseball coach, head coach, and an athletic director is just about as much as anybody can take. My head is absolutely spinning these days, but again, just glad to be here and offer any help that I can. I think the message is tips for small school ADs. We are a very small school. Our class size is roughly around 40 kids per grade. Some are lower, some are higher. So, we're under 250 kids total in the high school and junior high. Together. So I'm also in charge of all the junior high athletics as well. 7th and 8th grade, I have an assistant, but so there's a lot going on, no doubt.
Well, your comment there about becoming an AD, it made me think of that phrase. I think Daryl Nance out of South Carolina first coined this, that many of us become the AD because the principal tossed the keys at us and we didn't duck. We caught them. But and thanks for mentioning Hannah. Hannah's has become one of our regulars on our Wednesday Wisdom segment. So very cool. The connections are just overflowing here.
Yep.
Well, again, you've been on the job for a while, and as you and I talked, the position of athletic director at a small school is a little bit different. So, what are some of the tips or maybe hacks that you've developed over the years, or in true athletic director fashion, stolen from other ADs that help you do such a great job for the kids and the coaches at Hilltop?
Yeah, that's well said. What I do isn't because of me. I've learned from good people around me. Our athletic director before me, his name's Matt Shields. He's now a principal at Archbold. He's a fantastic guy, and then there's lots of good colleagues that I've learned from over the years in our area. So there's a lot of connections that get made. So it's just definitely not me. And I will say to start being an AD, even all these years, I feel like it's getting harder. It's not getting any easier, But there are the biggest thing when it comes to being an athletic director, administrator in my shoes. I teach half the day, so my day is split up between teaching and being an administrator. So I don't have a full day like some of these guys in our area to be fully devoted to the job. So I got to juggle a lot that's going on. So the absolute must that has to be done for me in order to survive this job is organization. Organizational skills is not something that came naturally to me. I had to work at it, and I still can always improve on it. But that's the first thing. There's so many different aspects of running an athletic program in a school like us. There's only so many of us to go around. There's so many things I have to be in charge of that maybe a bigger school wouldn't have to. A couple examples, just since we're in spring season, I'm also the head baseball coach. A lot of people in our area, our ADs, also coach, and that's pretty normal. But for my sake, our maintenance staff is pretty small, and so they're tied up. So not only am I the AD, I'm teaching, I'm coaching, trying to prepare for ball games and get my kids ready to play, but I've also am in charge of prepping baseball fields and getting the track ready for track season and working the softball field and managing that and taking care of all the facility as well. So I'm basically a part-time janitor, I'm a full-time groundskeeper in our facility for baseball for sure. Um, and transportation is always an issue. So we're working hard with transportation department to help on that. I'm one of the few ADs that I've ever heard of that also has their bus license. So I'm driving bus to a lot of games and in charge of a lot of the transportation aspect of it. So there's a lot that goes into my day, just trying to keep my head above water, and also trying to be the best baseball coach at the same time, and also teaching every morning as well. So that's the absolute foremost is creating good organizational skills. And then the second one for me as an AD, it's all about people. It's such a people driven thing. There's so much communication that has to go on, trying to get along with our coaches, trying to communicate with parents, and trying to help as much as you can. Having good relationships with the opposing schools, ADs, and coaches. Those are the things that I cherish the most are those times where you get to actually communicate with those other people from other schools. A lot of people don't have that opportunity like I do. So created a lot of great friendships over the years of doing this with other coaches, but specifically the athletic directors. And it does break my heart a little bit. Every year I go by, there's more turnover. There's a lot of turnover in our business. Neighboring schools that run through ADs, it seems like left and right. There's always a constant demand to try to replace them because they get in there and they realize the demands that it's part of the job and how hard it can be, and how some of the pressures that get put on, and a lot of the I guess for a lack of better word, the blame that gets put on coaches and ADs when things don't go the way people would like them to go. So, and those are the big challenges. But as far as the tips for my mentality when I go into an AD, I tell people, like, when they ask me what I do, I say, well, I try my best as an athletic director that when you go to a ball game, you don't have any idea what my job is. And I say that because the only reason that a person would know that something's going on that I do is something's wrong, whether it's an official that doesn't show up, or the concession's not working right, or the teams aren't getting there on time, or if something's going wrong, usually it has something to do with me. But if everything's running smoothly and everything's going the way it's supposed to go, that means I'm doing my job. So that's my intention as an AD, is it's just to make sure things are going smooth everywhere. Everyone's where they need to be. My job is a lot of hurry up and wait. You get the games really early, trying to make sure things are organized, and then I'm just waiting for just make sure everybody shows up, everybody's in their proper location. And then usually when tip off happens or kickoff on a Friday night, that's when I can take a little bit of a deep breath. I can go, okay, we have a ball game. I've done my job at this point, and then I can pray and hope that everybody stays healthy and fans stay calm and everything goes the best of its ability, which not every doesn't happen every game and every night, but for the most part it does. So that's the biggest part what I'd like to start.
No, you bring up a couple of great points, and organization certainly is one of the most frequently mentioned, and deservedly so, tools, in our toolbox. But the thing about, parents and fans, they show up at the game and they see the game, but they have no idea all the things that you have done to make sure that game comes off without a hitch. The
Yep.
teams, the scheduling, the buses, the officials, the concessions, custodians, you name it, you're doing that. Also, and again, this is one of those features of the small school AD. You talked about your teaching and you're also the head coach. And I did that for a number of years. I was the head football coach. I taught, 3 sections of strength and conditioning, not just for athletes, but with all
Mhm.
students. And then, oh,
Yep.
by the way, I was the athletic director for a decent sized program. So all of those different hats, um, come into play during your day. Here's my question for you. I was very fortunate to have a supportive principal and administration, even though I was wearing those 3 hats. I'm putting you on the spot here. What's your
Mhm.
administrative support like at Hilltop?
Yeah, well, I've been doing this long enough now. I've gone through changes of superintendents a few times and principals, but I will say that the administrations that I've had over the years of doing this have been outstanding. I'm a father. I have 2 young kids at home. I have a daughter who's going to turn 12 next month. I've got a son who's 9, who's involved in a lot of things too. So I have to mention that the sacrifices that I have to be made by my wife and my kids by not seeing me are there. But having said that, a lot of times during the winter and fall, I have had a great administrators who have helped cover a lot of road games for me, so I can be home on a given night more than always being on the road, traveling to our volleyball teams games or basketball, whatever might be going on that week. So it is important to have those great relationships and have great administrators that are willing to help travel and maybe take some of those road game responsibilities because we have to have people there. It does make I mean, I'm always covering home games, but it does help to have that type of help, no doubt.
Oh no, absolutely. You could have the greatest plans in the world as an AD, but if you're not getting supported by your administration, good luck.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah. Tony, this has just been so cool connecting with you, adding you to my network, and appreciate you sharing with our listeners. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more, or like I said, add you to their network. And listeners, I think you got a great resource here. What's the best way that they can connect with you?
Well, as you probably know, Jake, as a former AD, our phones are always busy. There's never a time when I'm not at work, unfortunately. That's because my email is attached to my phone. So I can be anywhere at any given time on a Sunday at 8:30 at night, and there could be a work question, and I'm always available. So I think email is probably the best route to get me. My email is tgerig, and my last name is spelled Gerig, and it's at Hilltop Cadets. HILLTOPCADETS.org.
Well, Tony, thanks again for joining us. Again, I know it's a crazy time in the life of an athletic director, but all the best moving forward with the spring sports season. And hey, let's get you down to Florida. Our conference is actually in a couple weeks, so you'll have time to make it down.
Oh, not a chance, but it sounds great. Florida sounds a lot better than Ohio. We got rain and some cold weather coming in, I think, tomorrow. So
Well, hey, you're gonna have to schedule those spring baseball games. You can come
that's
down here. I'll get you hooked up with a couple of schools.
absolutely sounds great.
All right. For our listeners, we appreciate you tuning in. And we remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our podcasts to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Come back next week for another small school AD tip and just about every day for best practices on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, that was a fun segment. Tony Gerig from Hilltop High School. Before we go, as always, we do want to shout out to our sponsors because they help make all this possible. And these are all companies that I used when I was an athletic director. We want to say thanks to Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. We'd like to say thanks to Home Campus. Go to homecampus.com. It's a platform you're going to use every single day. We'd like to thank Ohio University's online master program. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We'd like to thank Huddle. Turn your school into a Huddle school. Go to huddle.com. Gipper, start creating world-class content for social media. That's gipper.com. We'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. That's athleticsurveys.com. If you're looking for a fundraiser, stop looking. Snapraise.com. and Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com to get started. Thanks again. We'll see you next time on Small School AD on the Educational AD Podcast.